A few years ago, back in 2003, when the student group started to form, it was called SEEDS, Student Strategies for Environmental Education, Development, and Sustainability. And the students were talking about, well, what kind of project would we like to get into? What kind of student project that deals with environmental stewardship and sustainability and economic development and equity could we possibly do? And one of the students happened to hear about this coffee roaster in Madison, Wisconsin called Just Coffee. And we talked about it, the students, and said this would be a really good project to get involved in because it deals with issues of, it addresses environmental stewardship, economic development, and social equity. And I just want to explain, I guess, what that means. As far as environmental stewardship, for example, what this coffee is, where we buy it, and they make sure that the coffee is grown underneath trees. Now, mostly coffee around the world, especially in Brazil, they cut down the trees, and then they plant coffee bushes. And they can get a lot of coffee per acre that way, because you don't have those trees getting in the way. However, it destroys the forest, and it destroys lots and lots of bird habitats. And a lot of our migratory birds that pass through Wisconsin, they go through Mexico, for example, and all the way to South America. And you could count, and we were losing bird species because they were losing their habitats. They're losing their habitats because of coffee plantations. So, but coffee grows just as well underneath trees, underneath the canopy of trees. You just can't plant as many crops. But we like the idea of preserving the trees and the forest and the bird habitat, and the coffee tastes just as well. So that was a priority for the students to have shade-grown coffee. Another aspect is it's organic, meaning you can put lots and lots of chemicals on coffee to make it grow faster and bigger, but all those chemicals aren't good for your system. And you may not taste it in your cup of coffee, but eventually it'll get to you. And I think all of us generally would prefer not to drink chemicals in our coffee than to drink it with it. So organic was another aspect. And then the fair trade aspect of it all. And what that means is usually there's this whole chain of custody of coffee. You got the coffee pickers over here, and then it goes to, it has to be shipped, it has to be marketed, it has to be, the wholesalers get it, and it's usually a chain of about 7 steps from here to here. So a cup of coffee, especially like at Starbucks, you might buy a cup of coffee for $18.
No. $4 or $5 maybe for
$5 for a latte?
It's been a long time.
And back here, the person who grew the coffee, who cared for it, who planted the seeds, who spent their time and blood and sweat and tears in growing that thing, they would get they'd get a couple cents, basically, for that pound, for that cup of coffee. So who's picking up all that profits? So they are getting the less of anything along that whole chain. They get the smallest amount, and yet they're the most involved in growing. So that doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem like it's very fair trade. So how can that process be eliminated? How can some of these steps be taken out in order so they can get more of it? That's part of the process. That's what we are concerned with. That's what fair trade is getting rid of, how do we get rid of some of these things? And for example, if you buy Maxwell House in the store, they've gone through all these steps. If you buy Folgers, if you buy Hillsborough, those general coffee things, the farmer is only getting a small portion of the total. They're not getting much more. And as Dean was in Mexico this past, because we wanted to visit those farmers, what did they say? How much do those farmers earn? Remember, what do they earn a whole year?
It's like $100.
They earn $100 for their coffee a year, generally a farmer. How can you live on $100?
I think some of that to afford like different bricks for their small little houses. Not too much of anything.
So we're concerned about these folks because mostly they are, at least in Mexico, they're indigenous people. And there was a real affinity between our college and those folks in southern Mexico. So we wanted to think, how could we possibly help benefit their communities also as we're drinking our beloved cup of coffee? And fair trade is one of those ways. So this place, Just Coffee, they deal directly with the farmer in Mexico. The bag of coffee comes from Mexico, it goes up to New Jersey, to a wholesale warehouse. From New Jersey, it goes to Madison, and from Madison, it comes here, and we sell it. So that brings it down to 4 steps instead of 7 or 8 steps. And because of eliminating those steps, these people can get more for their product. And that's basically what fair trade is all about. Making sure that they get a better pay. Because unfortunately, they're the ones usually left out of this whole. The coffee industry is, I believe, the second biggest industry in the whole world of commodities traded outside of oil. So it's a big industry. And it just makes sense that the person caring for it, planting it organic, should get a better price.
I think the advantage, big time for us to go through Just Coffee, is that they have their own roasters right on site. So we know that we're getting the freshest roast possible, as opposed to if you go to Pick and Save and buy a bag of Starbucks. You got to factor in the time it sat on the shelf, the shipping time, the time it sat in distributors, you know. You might be drinking coffee that was roasted 6 months ago, whereas if you're drinking Just Coffee, then you know that this has been roasted within the last probably 3 weeks.
And did you go to Madison?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you would. And we saw that place. You know, tell them about what does that place look like? This is some big factory, big coffee factory? Or?
Well, it's really underground. I like it, and I'd like to work there someday because it looks really cool, like a cool place to work. There's a lot of young people working there, a lot of idealism going on, especially with this fair trade process. They have the front offices. They have a big table like this, and then they just have chairs around. And they say that this is where they have their meetings. You know, Greg was along too. Greg and Shree was along.
Were you?
But, yeah, you guys were along, man. Okay, so Greg and Shree were along.
That's right. Shree was in Mexico.
But yeah, so they took us back into their roaster place. They have these, I think about 3 or 4 big giant roasters where they take the green or red coffee beans and they put it in there and they roast them into what we get in our bag, the brown coffee beans. So it was really eye-opening for us to see this process because all we really see is a bag and a cup, you know. Seeing the coffee in its organic, natural state before it gets roasted was pretty significant for me. And I learned something that I didn't know is that the lighter the roast, the more caffeine you get. And a lot of people think, oh, give me a cup of that mud, you know, that dark stuff. That's where all the caffeine's at. Well, that's not necessarily true. The lighter the roast, the more caffeine you get because the longer the roasting process, the more the essential oils that get taken out of the bean. So that makes sense if you think about it that way. So we sell dark and a medium roast at the coffee shop, and then the President's Blend is kind of in between.
One of the really nice things about this Just Coffee is you can create your own blend of coffee. So we went there as a group of the students, and we said, well, let's try this blend from Peru, let's try this from Bolivia, and let's see which ones we like. We had kind of a mandate from Dr. Fowler. She said, oh, this stuff is too strong for me. So we had to develop something a little, that's why we're looking for the president's lens, something a little smoother. So we tested some things out, and we came up with something that was a lighter and a little bit stronger, something really smooth.
Yeah, it has like a cinnamon notes to it, and it has a cinnamon taste. Good, I like it.
And they'll help you develop your own label. And this isn't one of our labels. We have a whole CMN label, and you put whatever you want on it. All right?
Yeah, we're all out of, we sold out again.
Oh, we sold all. And you want to mention some of the ideas we have, maybe with the coffee shop, and some of the things you guys have developed out of the coffee shop.
Sure. If anyone goes to Starbucks and they really like their coffee, I know I love my coffee, but I haven't really been a big espresso drinker. I was just kind of the 8 o'clock coffee or the Folger, whatever was around, you know. I would drink that coffee, but now that I've developed my palate a little more with messing around in the coffee shop, I realized that espresso is the way to go. I love that. You can feel the ends of your hair. Yeah, so we went through and we got some of the flavored syrups that they like to use at the bigger coffee house chains, and we've been making our own flavors basically. We took advantage of what they call at Starbucks a red eye and a green eye. That's adding 1 shot of espresso to your coffee is a red eye, adding 2 shots is a green eye. And I guess they have other black eyes, and blue eyes, and all this other stuff, but we thought just to give it a Native American spin, we named it a Native Americano, because an Americano is water and espresso. So the base is coffee for a Native Americano. It's a little darker, a little richer, you know. So we took that liberty to rename a drink as a Native Americano, and then we were working with Marcus and Ben Greeno to sell some of their loose teas that they make. But right now we're doing the Tazo teas from Walmart, and we name them Sovereign Teas. For a little play on words. So yeah, I know that there's a customer that came in and introduced me to a new drink. It's a latte tea. You get tea and then you add half molten milk or heated milk. So that's a latte, I guess. So there's a lot. The industry is just always moving forward and creating new things. There's nothing new under the sun, as they say, that all these ideas have probably been done before and all that, but we want to we've been trying to tailor our menu to what people like. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. We sell our mugs. Our mugs are actually biodegradable. They'll break down in a hot compost pile. I haven't really, I wanted to do that in my compost pile, but I didn't want to get rid of my mug. I keep it. We also compost all of our grounds.
Another big aspect is not only helping these farmers, but getting to know these farmers. And Cherie and Dean this past summer went and visited these farmers in order to help them. Because we want to know who are these products that we're buying from, that we're promoting. You want to mention anything, your impression, Cherie or Dean, about what you saw? Did that make a difference to you?
Yeah, because I really didn't know a lot about it. Like, well, when I asked you when we were done with consolidation, I asked you, who buy the coffee here? No, the coffee's not safe.
Yeah, a lot of people think coffee comes from where? I don't know, they brought over in Ohio or something. But to meet those farmers was pretty special to see the warehouse where they actually are bagging the stuff, the nursery and stuff.
Yeah, it was like on a mountainside. It was all like kind kind of like misty and raining. And like all these people just every day just wake up to go work on this coffee, and it doesn't seem like they really get much for a lot of the work that they do. It's kind of sad, but they're all going around and still going around that factory area. So they're pretty happy to see us.
In this cooperative that we deal with, in 1996 was it? We went to the Actial. It's right next to that Actial. And it's a cooperative, and they try to work together as a cooperative. And some people in the Mexican government don't like that idea of cooperative living. They want, the government wants to do whatever they want. In 1996, they came to this cooperative, armed people in the middle of the night, and massacred 50 people, men, women, and children, mostly women and children, out of this cooperative. Only in 1996, not very long ago. So we're concerned about, you know, survival of that community. So that's another reason we support them and want to maintain our connections with them, because they need that support from these guys. They need their message to be outside of Mexico, because otherwise, when things are hidden, when we don't know about it, when the outside world doesn't know about these things, then these forces of oppression can continue. Then they can continue when they're hidden. And in southern Chiapas, things can get hidden pretty easy. So these guys had a very unique, opportunity, and they were the second trip that went there, to be able to listen firsthand to these stories of the people. And they wanted to tell their story. They said, you have to go and tell other people what's happening here and what's like.
It almost seemed like the people were fighting of their own government, their own military. Think about a military who's supposed to be there to protect you and defend you. But for them, it seemed like they were more frightened and kind of like the military was a bully.
Yeah. Because this community wanted to maintain their sovereignty, basically. The government wanted, well, you got to join this political party. You got to vote for all of us, and you got to support all our political. They said, no, we want to be neutral. We don't, you can't buy us off, and that's what got the government mad. And in the middle of the night, and you can go, and we saw their very graves, and all the pictures on the wall in this chapel of all the babies that were killed and all the women that were killed, just mercilessly. Not very long ago, 15 years ago. And they said it could happen at any time again.
Was there a pregnant girl?
Yeah, and they, it's horrible. And they kept, I remember that, they said, this could happen again, unless there's this sort of vigilance from people like you, they said, to know about the situation, to support us. And this is our little chance to sort of support us, like buying coffee. Who would have thought that? So fair trade, and this stuff can be pretty powerful, once you think about it. Not just a cup of coffee.
Right? I look at it as this process, cutting all it, sticking it to the man. Like we're underdogs, we're fighting for the little guy when we buy this stuff. Good question.
Yes, how, now you said how we kept cutting those out. Now, obviously the end price is kind of, a bag of coffee is about similar price, I'm not sure.
What do those go for?
These are $8.25 in the shop, so in the supermarket, you pay like $8.25 for the Starbucks or
Right, so it's
Dunkin'
about
Donuts.
comparable.
Yeah.
So now how, have you gone back to see how that $100 a year has changed? Because if you're cutting them out,
I wasn't on
It's
the
going
trip.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of, the coffee industry is very dynamic, and in a good year, they said they can get $500. Now, it depends on how much people are buying this. They can do it, but if there's no market for it, then they're not going to make much money. So the more demand there is, then their income goes up. in other communities that we've gone to, I mean, they're able to send their kids to school and they're able to improve their houses because of increased income levels from their fathers. So it does make a difference.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's an idea of how much.
That would,
Like 500, I mean, that's 500.
yeah. And not only is there coffee, and we've explored some of these, there's other fair trade types of products, well, tea, chocolates,
Chocolate,
cotton, I think, and other types of
organic cotton.
organic cotton.
So as a concept, I think it really feeds into that idea of social responsibility. For companies to have a social responsibility to not only provide goods and services, but to enrich the lives of people using these goods and services. So I think that it's important, and it's a good thing that this idea from seeds, that seed got planted. You know, that this idea sprouted into what we have now. In the library foyer, open 8 a.m. to noon every weekday. But yeah, so I think that it's one way for us to affect the world in a positive way, even if it's just one little village in Chiapas. You know, they rely on us to, like Dr. V said, to get their story out there and to help in any way we can. Lord knows we have enough problems on the reservation here to take care of, but doing something like this makes me feel like I'm helping the world as a whole, putting out good energy, karma, if you want to call it that. So, yeah, I'm honored to be a part of it, and I would really like to continue working in this type of venture.
And we always need more volunteers. Justin is one of the trained baristas, but we only have enough baristas or paid baristas to cover in the mornings. So we kind of need people in the afternoon. It would have to be a volunteer kind of thing, but boy, that'd be a great opportunity. You could learn under Justin. He'd teach you how to be a barista, work the espresso machine. Then we can open it longer. I mean, if we had people, we could open it all evening long. You know, it's only closed because we just don't have people to staff it.
That's one of the big complaints I've heard is that, well, I don't know when you guys are open, and
Yeah.
whenever I go over there, you're not open. And so I say, well, we need volunteers, you know, the tip money's pretty good. You can buy a little beans and biscuits, you know, for yourself or
You get
whatever.
all the coffee you can drink.
All the coffee you can drink. So a lot of times when people come over there and I bring the coffee to them.
How do you market or advertise your product?
I actually just this week put an ad up on Facebook that we've gotten over 1,312 views in the Wisconsin area. Not all those people are college students or live in the area, but I think that promoting the awareness that we're here is one of the big things of marketing. Also, we were at the Veterans Ball last year. We had a stand up selling coffee. And the more and more I talk with people in the community, the more I get this response that, you know what, I didn't even know that was there. So I think it would be great for us to get maybe an ad in newspapers, get a big neon sign to put in the library window, show when we are open. So
Powered by
people know.
solar.
Yeah, solar powered, of course. Or you could just put me on a little stationary bike back there and
Yeah.
keep it going. As long as I have coffee. Awareness. I think doing things like this and just talking with people, month-to-month advertising is really effective. So we have our own Facebook fan page, all that stuff.
And just a side note, just yesterday, Stephanie Erdman and myself, we went to Brazil this week. Just got off yesterday, and we talked about this. It was a conference in the middle of the Amazon called Indigenous Social Entrepreneurship and Sustainability. And it looked like a great idea to go, and we were a little questioning, what do we have to present, what do we have to offer? So we wrote a paper about the coffee shop, and how it's an example of some of these things we're talking about. People there were so excited to hear about. A couple comments, they said, we hear so much talk about sustainability, but you guys, in your own small way, are actually doing something about it, and that is really encouraging. You're actually doing something. And another comment, a young lady said, she came up to me, and Stephanie gave us a big hug, she said, we hear so many negative things about people from the United States. They're wasteful, they're consumers, they're selfish, they're only thinking about themselves. And to hear about what you guys are doing, it just gives us renewed affection for, man, there are some positive people in the United States, actually. And I thought that's a pretty powerful thing to say. So now people in Brazil know about this. They know about Justin. They know about Facebook. They gave them the Facebook thing.
Yeah, I think we're up to,
So who knows?
I think we're up to 63. So like anytime we put on a comment, one of the baristas will put down a comment, like, we're having a special today, latte is sent off, and it's going to 60 some people, they see it on their feed. But I'm looking for the next big thing, I think that Facebook and the social networking sites could be looked at as a faux pas or forced or old eventually.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think word of mouth is a great way to just talk with people.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Okay. Any questions? Otherwise, let's move on to Jeff. Yeah, give a presentation.
Jump right into Jeff. Thank you, guys.
Okay, that's the one I want.
Yeah, this is the food
Okay.
This is the food sovereignty one.